Chrysler's Jeep brand is unveiling the new 2014 Jeep Cherokee here at the New York International Auto Show. Joining me now is the CEO of the Jeep brand, Mike Manley. Good to see you once again.
Great to see you.
So tell me a bit about the Cherokee. It's going to replace the Liberty in basically that mid-size, sporty space. What are your expectations in terms of sales?
Well, you know, with Liberty, we were a pretty niche player, only 3 or 4% of that segment, the biggest segment in the US. So with this vehicle, we're going to significantly increase that. And I certainly double-digit market share is what I'm hoping for.
Does that mean Jeep can have record sales again in 2013, or is the fact that the Cherokee's coming out a little bit later that makes that more difficult?
I think it's going to be more difficult. You know, the year-over-year comparisons are going to be tough for the first half. This will start hitting the showrooms in the third quarter, so I think at the back end we're going to see the growth come back to the brand, but we're really targeting 14 and that 800,000 number.
So we did see in February a slump in Jeep sales, even though Chrysler's sales had best year in 5 years.
Absolutely.
So that's part of the transition,
Sure.
correct?
Yeah.
So is this year a write-off really until Cherokee comes out?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a write-off because we're still gaining share with our other vehicles. Wrangler, Grand Cherokee is now back into the showrooms. That's good news and growing strongly this month. And Compass and Patriot continue to perform well. We had to take Liberty out of the plant early so we could tool up for a completely new vehicle. So inventories basically ran out in December. So the year-over-year comparisons were tough for us, but we'll get back to growth by middle of the year, I would say.
You think the U.S. market has any headwinds in front of it?
Well, you know, I think some of the economic indicators have been pretty positive recently, even though, you know, consumer confidence was a little bit down. So I think that we're on the right track. As ever, for me, slow growth is the best growth. So if we can continue growing the economy, if consumer confidence comes back now on the back of the housing results, I think it will be a very positive year for us and for the industry in general.
Moving away from the U.S., Jeep is, of course, the big global brand for Chrysler. You had a huge gain in Asian sales, up 92%
Absolutely.
in the past year. All right, can you really top that? I mean, that's the law of numbers, right? It's hard to outdo that.
Absolutely, it's hard to outdo that. Well, 2 years in a row, we've been the fastest growing mainstream brand in China. And on the basis we don't build there, we're an import brand as well. I think that's pretty strong performance from the team. They've been waiting for the mid-size SUV for a long time. We never sold Liberty in China, so this vehicle will go to China. I think it will also help fuel our growth. I mean, I'd be delighted to be able to grow 90% again, but it's probably unrealistic, but we're hoping for continued growth.
How is your production partnership with the Chinese going right now? Update us on
Sure.
when production will begin and what you're seeing in terms of timing.
Well, we're in the final stages really of completing what we would call the beginning of project approval. Once we've finished that with the partner, then it has to go to the authorities for their formal approval. If that all happens, we're probably about 15 to 18 months away from localizing in China. Now, there's still hurdles for us to get over, so having been here before, I'd like to make sure that agreement's finished before I get too specific about when we'll build. But if everything goes well, that's kind of the time frame.
And the goal for vehicles being produced in China in terms of numbers then?
Well, it's one of the biggest markets in the world, and you know, I think for us the opportunity is very large. So I won't say specifically a number, but if you think of our growth in the past, we'll certainly have many multiples of the sales that we make today.
Let's move to Europe. What are you seeing in terms of sales? You've actually held up pretty well there.
Yes.
And the Cherokee is going to be sold in the UK, I know.
Yes.
Any plans beyond the UK?
Now, it'll be sold right across Europe. It'll come with the diesel variants, which is so important. We have been able to weather the storm in Europe, but the markets are very, very tough. We've grown last year, even though the overall markets were down. And I think some of that was how low we had gotten during our transition out of our restructure. So we're coming back. Our dealer body's getting stronger, and that'll bode well for us. And as soon as Cherokee gets over there, it's a more mainstream segment than we've been in before. So we're going to grow again, despite the market conditions. But I think Europe will be tough for at least another 2 years.
At least 2 years.
In my view, I think it's going to take well into 14 for it to start recovering.
But you still think you can grow sales in that environment?
Yes, I think we can, because we're a relatively small player and we're bringing new vehicles to market, and one of the key drivers in that market is the smaller SUVs with great fuel economy. And Cherokee's fuel economy has improved 45% on the gas version over the exiting Liberty, so it's a dramatic improvement in fuel economy. And our diesel version, again, gets great fuel economy with the new 9-speed transmission. So I think the product will be very relevant in the segments, and therefore I think we can gain some share.
And in terms of a production start date for the Cherokee, late May?
We're talking about May for production, but really in terms of getting to the showrooms, you're into the third quarter.
Okay. And on the production side, will you be adding workers in Ohio for that Cherokee production?
Absolutely. You know, we expect to be selling many more than we did at Liberty, so what will come with that is additional employment.
And any numbers on that?
Not specifically from me. We'll make those announcements into the future.
And that's beyond the April 1st increase in employees in Toledo, right?
Yeah, we've talked about the employees that we're getting already to gear up ready for Cherokee production. More employment over that really depends how the market reacts to it. So obviously I'm very positive and hope that it reacts well. The better it reacts, obviously the better for employment.
In terms of pricing, you don't see the need for any incentives?
Well, no. I mean, typically when we launch a vehicle, we're able to make sure that we get the price right from an MSRP perspective. Obviously we're going to be competitive with this vehicle. It's a competitive segment. But what we've been able to do, I think, with Jeep, with Wrangler and with Grand Cherokee is to get the right balance of value in the vehicle and the right pricing to begin with. Now, incentives are a part of life in the market that we operate in, so clearly there will be incentives there, but we've been successful in the past at getting our price and value package where it needs to be.
In terms of incentives, not any more than last year?
Oh, absolutely not.
And broader question with the auto industry overall, as we look at 15 million units sold globally, what is the biggest risk to the recovery in the auto industry this year?
Well, you know, it's a major purchase for families and individuals, even businesses. So I think what we need to see is continued steady growth, and I think the industry will follow that. You know, our RAM division follows that housing starts very closely, and we're seeing growth in that area, which is positive. I just would like to see people continuing to be positive about the economy, continue to see employment growth, and that will bode well for the industry. Without that, it's very tough, there's no doubt about it. So if that happens, then the growth we're seeing will continue.
Jeep CEO Mike Manley, good to see you once again here in New York.
Great to see you, thank you.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler, this is Reuters.